Hi everyone, welcome. Thank you so much for clicking on today's video and I hope you guys stay tuned until the end. How have you guys been doing? I hope wherever you are that you're staying safe and doing well. My name is Esther Vincent and also known as LiaMia on social media. Do follow me on my Instagram and Facebook. Love to get you guys over there. How's the weather wherever you are staying? I would love to know that. Whatever country that you guys are, tell me about the weather. While here in beautiful Malaysia, my country, it has been raining and raining and raining. We've been in this a little bit of a cold weather, but this past 1-2 days, it has been a little bit sunny and I'm already starting to miss the cold. The lowest that we've been, degrees Celsius, is what? 22 degrees Celsius. But yeah, that was really chilly. We are a tropical country, so yep, that's the lowest that we've been. I think maybe a couple of days ago, but yeah. Anywho's, have you guys checked out my previous video? It is a Malaysian unsolved case, crime case, the crime of Nurita Samsudin. This case made the headlines when it happened. One of the reasons why this case made the headlines is because the prime suspect on this case was acquitted because he did not have a foul body odor. Yep, I said it in that video and also this video that a foul body odor, BO, was a huge evidence in this crime, and because the prime suspect did not have a terrible BO, he was acquitted. Well, to check it out further, to know what actually happened on that crime, do go visit my previous video. I'll try to put the link down below, or you guys can also wait until end of this video and that card will come up. You guys can click on it and view that out. Now, as for today, I've got you guys a very famous ghost story from my country, the beautiful Malaysia. Malaysia represent. I wanted to come out from, the crime investigation and stuff. So I opted for a ghost story, a mysterious story, an urban legend from Malaysia. Because you know why? We've got 1,001 of them. And this is one of those. As the title of this video, this is the story of the ghost of Janet. So before I go into Janet's ghost story, I do need to let you guys know a little bit about where the story comes from, or shall I say the state that this story originates from. This ghost story or the urban legend originates from the state of Sarawak in Malaysia. For those of you guys who don't know, Malaysia consists of two major islands. We have the East Malaysia, which is where I stay, which is where our capital is, and most of Malaysia's states are in the East Malaysia, the Peninsula Malaysia. And we have the beautiful West Malaysia, which consists of Sabah, Sarawak, and Labuan. So Sarawak is the state this urban legend, this ghost story of Janet originates from. I messed up big time. I don't know how did I do that. This is so embarrassing. I messed up the West Malaysia with the East Malaysia. So yes, I have got it upside down. Yep, the West Malaysia is the East Malaysia, the East Malaysia is the West Malaysia. I tried rectifying it by labeling the pictures, the islands pictures on top. I hope you guys get it. I am so sorry. Now, this story is said to have taken place back in the 1960s or the 1970s. Now, at this time lived a young, very beautiful looking Chinese descendant or a Tionghoa descendant girl named Janet. She was working as a nurse in the Sarawak General Hospital in the city of Kuching. Now, this General Hospital of Sarawak was built by the British to ensure the locals get the health care they needed. In 1925, this hospital was rebuilt again, sort of renovated, and after about 5-6 years, it started its operations again. But this were during the World War II, and Japanese had invaded Malaysia at that time, and the Japanese used this hospital for themselves, to carry out experiments and whatnot. And finally, at around 1963, Sarawak joined Malaysia and it started to slowly develop. So a lot of new buildings, bridges, and all that, a lot of constructions were taking place in Sarawak at that time. Now, Janet is working in this general hospital. So one day she finishes a very late night shift, and after her shift, she was said to have been walking home, returning back home. Somewhere in between her journey from the hospital to her home, she was said to have been kidnapped. So Janet goes missing, and at this point in time in the city of Kuching, Sarawak, the missing female cases was on the rise. A lot of young females were going missing. And all these young females going missing, these reports about mysteriously missing young women was linked to many constructions that was taking place in the city of Kuching back at that time. And one of the very famous construction that was ongoing at that time was the Satok Bridge. What's the link between missing young females and constructions, you ask? Well, let me tell you. There is a belief here in Malaysia. I don't know whether they believe the same thing anywhere else, but here in Malaysia, I think is still being believed among fellow Malaysians that when a major construction, whether be it a building or a bridge or whatever construction, is being held up, or it just stops in between before its completion, it means that the territorial spirits, territorial ghosts or spirit around that area, they are not happy. They are displeased. They, the territorial spirits, were not asked or inquired prior to starting a certain construction. So the territorial spirits were not taken care of. And finally, it takes a human sacrifice to satisfy them. Yes, you heard that right. Human sacrifice. Yep, human sacrifice would be made to appease these territorial spirits, or a human sacrifice needs to be made to appease these territorial spirits. Young virgin women were preferred for these taboo acts. Hence, the rise of missing young females were linked to the construction of the Satok Bridge at that time, because at that particular time, the Satok Bridge construction was on hold, and it was said that female young girls were sacrificed in order to appease those spirits, and the bridge's construction continued on without any problem. Small little warning to this next short part here, as it has a little bit of a gruesome detail. What actually happens to these young virgin girls who are being kidnapped? Well, what they do is they would decapitate the victims, and the head of these young virgin girls would be embedded before the pillars of the constructions are set in, meaning like their head goes first before the main pillar or the foundation of the constructions is set. While the headless body of these victims are sometimes found, most of the times not found by their family or by the law at that time. So this is believed to be the fate that befell Janet. Janet's body, though, was eventually found in a culvert nearby the bridge's construction at that time, headless. A funeral was held for Janet, and her poor grieving parents decided that they are going to bury Janet in a red dress, red shoe. Everything that they are going to bury Janet with is going to be red. Now, the Chinese have a belief that if a woman dies wearing red, or if she was buried wearing red, she would return with a very evil vengeance. I sort of think that Janet's parents intended to dress Janet's body up in red so that she would return and take revenge on whoever did all those nasty stuff to her, because they might have believed that her soul would not travel on or pass on, or maybe she's just not, her soul might just not rest in peace. So they might have intended to dress up Janet's body in red so that she would return to take revenge. I'm not talking on their behalf. I cannot talk on their behalf, but yeah, thinking about it, their daughter gone through such a terrible death. Of course they want her to come back and take revenge. I don't know. I can't speak on their behalf, but you guys know what I'm trying to say here, right? Anyways, now soon after this funeral, the encounters of this mysterious woman in red started being reported around the area. A lot of the villagers living around that area where Janet's body was found, or around the Satok Bridge area, started reporting seeing a mysterious woman in red, especially during the late nights or midnights, wandering around trying to attract the menfolk. It is said that Janet, or Janet's ghost, would wander around the Satok Bridge area trying to hitch a ride with motorcyclists, which most of the time she succeeds in getting a ride, and she would ride along with these motorcyclists. At the end of the ride, she would disappear, leaving a very brownish stain on the bike, which would have a terrible stench of rotting flesh. There also started to have reports that a red-clad woman catching the ferry to cross the Sarawak River. Now, this is the river that the Satok Bridge was built on. Once this ferry reaches the other side, this woman in red would mysteriously disappear, and the fare that she paid, the money that she paid for the ferry ride, would somehow turn to leaves, dry leaves, or Chinese hell notes. Because of these freaky events, many ferry operators would not work past 10 p.m., fearing the appearance of this unwanted visitor. A woman in red was also frequently spotted wandering around the General Hospital, the Sarawak General Hospital, especially at the older building, the same building Janet once worked. And there were many reports from villagers living in Kampong Kude, Kampong Bintangor. Kampong simply means village. So people who lived in this village reported seeing a woman wearing red, holding a red umbrella, wandering around at night. And people who actually witnessed or went through these freaky events had stories such as these. Many men from the mentioned village and villages surrounding this area always falls victim to Janet's ghost because of her beauty, which is said to be enchanting. They sort of get hypnotized. They don't know what they are doing, so they would follow her. The bike rides that was said that she would try to hitchhike. So yeah, most of these men were sort of like hypnotized because of her enchanting beauty. So much so that these men who are lured by Janet's beauty, Janet's ghost's beauty, have invited her to accompany them. And there are also reports that say that Janet's ghost had invited these men to accompany her watch a late night movie in the historic theater named Cathay Theater. I hope I'm saying that right. Cathay Theater nearby the Kuching Divisional Mosque. The next day or the next morning, that's when a ruckus would erupt between the cashiers when the money from the night before does not tally with the ticket that was sold. Only then they will realize that they have dried leaves or Chinese hell notes in the money counter. Only then they will realize that they had had a visit, or Janet's ghost had paid them a visit the night before. So these were the stories that, had spread around Sarawak, and this was way back when technology, handphone and all that was a thing. So I'm sure stories as this was passed around from mouth to mouth, and I'm pretty sure that people had add up to these stories to make them a little bit more scarier. But all these stories that I've just said, or I've said throughout these videos, were some of the events that had actually taken place. And these were some of the stories that were reported by real people who had actually witnessed it. So this Janet's ghost story is not just famous among us Malaysians, but also among few of our neighboring countries. Example, Japan. Yes, Japan is known for their comics. So yes, they have a manga comic titled 3 times 3 eyes. I don't know whether is it 3x 3 eyes, but this is the name of it. And this particular comic is based from Janet's ghost story, but the storyline was obviously modified and changed according to the comic, the author. But this particular comic had won several awards, and this comic has up to 3 volumes. What do you guys think about this story? Any Sarawakians over here? Do you guys still believe in Janet's ghost story? Well, when I was doing my researches, I was going through some articles and videos and stuff, I saw a lot of comments from Sarawakians, people who stay in Sarawak. Most of them said that it's no longer something that's being believed on. It's already become more of an urban legend. But I did saw a few comments that mentioned people directly from the affected area do still believe, and they still believe at night. They don't even want to mention about Janet's ghost because fearing the visitation of Janet's ghost. Well, as for me, I do not want to visit the Satok Bridge or the area anywhere around there after sundown. Yes, Sarawak is a beautiful place. I've been there many times. I've been there for work as well as holiday. I've never known about this story until pretty recently, but if I'm ever in Sarawak again, I don't think so I would like to visit the Satok Bridge or the area surrounding it after sundown. I will go during the daytime with a lot of people accompanying me because I'm a scaredy cat. With all that said and done, we have come to the end of today's video, and I hope you guys liked it. If you did, please do leave me a thumbs up down there. That would mean so much to me. And for next week, let me see what story rings on my head, and I would come back to you guys with that story. Again, it can be a crime, it can be a ghost story, it can be a mysterious story. Let's see what plays on my noodles. Anyways, for today, that's about it. Thank you so much if you guys had stayed tuned until this very moment. Do comment on what you guys thought about this story or what went through your head, and I will see you guys next time. Take care wherever you are, be safe, and bye.